52 inches, 6,000 pixels wide, and just one cable to your laptop. Behind me, I have the Dell UltraSharp 52 Thunderbolt Hub Monitor. Now coming in at over 1.2 meters wide and weighing nearly 20 kilograms, this thing is an absolute beast. And the productivity it can pull off is similarly monstrous. But you see, Dell isn't really selling you on just a monitor here. What it's saying is that you can tear down your 3 screens, you can throw away your KVM, you can get rid of your USB dock, you can throw away all of your cables, all you need is this thing. So does that make it the right screen for you? Well, for many people, absolutely, but for many, many more people, absolutely not. Let me tell you why. So actually measuring in at 51.5 inches wide, that is the kind of dimension you'd normally hear about for a TV that you'd put in your living room, not a screen that you're going to put on your desk to work with every day. So is that too much? Well, the first time I fired it up, I absolutely found it unwieldy. But after nearly a month playing with this thing, I've gone on a real journey and I have come to absolutely love it. With a screen this size, you get a lot of resolution, and here we're talking 6144 by 2560 pixels. That is over 15 million pixels. Really, really big. That's significantly higher than 3 1440p monitors sat next to each other on one desk. It's got a refresh rate of 120 Hz, so you get fluid motion when you're working, and it has so many tricks up its sleeve. Now I should tell you straight off the block that this comes in at a very high price. And for that price you get a lot of features, but you should expect a lot when you're handing out that much money. The screen itself is IPS black, not OLED, and I really expected OLED when I saw the kind of numbers we were talking to buy this screen. But in fact, after using it for a while, I come to understand why it isn't. This thing is absolutely marketed for productivity, people that are going to be working hard for a long time. When I spoke to the Dell team before trying this out, they mentioned that this was designed with people like financial traders in mind, people that can have many windows open at once, tracking lots of different metrics. And with that, an OLED screen really isn't the perfect fit. You might have lots of static elements that could lead to burn-in over time, and you're likely going to be working in a very well lit office environment, somewhere that an OLED really wouldn't look that good. But this IPS black screen actually looks really good. It's got great brightness, it's got fantastic contrast ratio. In fact, it reaches 2000:1 contrast ratio, which is far short of what you'd get on an OLED, but for an IPS screen, it's very good. It makes the blacks look really good quality, and in fact, most of the colours look really good on this screen. It actually covers 99% of the DCI-P3 range, which is fantastic for an IPS screen. Now, when I told you the name, I said Thunderbolt Monitor Hub. That's because there is so many things built into this screen. You can connect your devices to it by Thunderbolt 4, which gives the ability to send a video and audio signal at the same time as charging your device very fast. It delivers up to 140 watts from the Thunderbolt port on the back of this screen, and it does so much more. It comes with a built-in KVM. That means that you can connect your mouse, your keyboard up to this screen, and then you can use them across multiple devices really seamlessly. And in fact, it works very well. In practice, I found that that's the best way to use this screen. Rather than trying to think of it as a multi-monitor setup for one unit, if you've got more than one device, this is where the system really comes alive. That is primarily driven by the picture-in-picture mode, which we'll jump to in a second. The array of ports doesn't stop at Thunderbolt 4. You've also got 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, 2 display ports, 3 USB-C upstream ports, a USB-A and a USB-C downstream port. Plus it's got a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port that you can connect directly to the screen. This is so impressive. There's a front-facing drop-down USB panel where you can connect an additional 2 USB-C devices and 1 USB-A device. That is lovely for when you just need to charge something quickly. You've got this to hand, you don't need any other chargers around you. Again, reducing that clutter and doing it really well. Which really shows you why this is so much more than just a monitor. So let me talk you through my journey with this screen. When it first arrived, I was really excited. This was a lot of resolution to play with, and I really wondered what could I do. Well, the first thing I noticed is that it was massive, and it felt really unwieldy. I tried to arrange my monitors how I thought would work best, and I kind of struggled to get it to feel right. Everything felt just a little bit clunky, and I thought, you know what, it's much easier just working with multiple screens. Well, that is before I dive deeper into the software. Now, if you download Dell's Periphery Manager, it opens up so many doors. You can then use the picture-by-picture and picture-in-picture modes to lay out your perfect desktop, and it works seamlessly. There is countless pre-made arrangements that you can choose from to put your different windows exactly the way you want, or you can build your own. Arrange the monitors the way that you think works best, and then click to save that orientation. Next time they will snap straight into place. This works incredibly well. I think I need this program regardless of this monitor. But even once you've started playing with that, you really need to find the setup that works best for you. Most commonly, I found myself opting for one large screen taking up about 70% of the space, and then a second vertical screen taking up about 30%. That was really nice to work with. But again, it goes further than that, because that's when you're working with just one device. When you're working with two devices, it gives you the option to display both on the screen at the exact same time. And that is absolutely fantastic. Another thing I noticed when I'm thinking about minimizing clutter on the desk is the need for speakers. I was blown away at the level of sound that comes out of this screen. And again, I think that's perfect for the kind of people they're building this for. You're going to want to be able to do things like video conferencing direct from this screen without worrying about going to connect any other speakers. This works very, very well. That sound is driven by two 9-watt speakers. Now, 9-watt speakers might not sound like much, but that is far, far more than you would ever see in a standard computer monitor. The only downside I found on that front was that there isn't a built-in webcam or microphone, which means that if you're going to be working from this constantly, you are probably going to need to connect some sort of periphery. Luckily, you've got all the ports you could ever need for that, and you'll probably have a better experience connecting up a good quality webcam than you would the kind of webcam that would be built into a screen anyway. I really like the clean, minimal look it brings to your desk, taking away all those wires. The stand looks sleek, it's really nice to work with, it's got a good amount of rotation and pivot. Of course, you can't turn it vertical and things like that because it's just far too big to ever want or need to do something like that. So can you use it for anything else other than productivity? Well, I should say the Dell team were really clear with me. This was not built for gamers. This is built for productivity. But that doesn't mean you can't game on it. With a 120Hz refresh rate and all that screen real estate, I had to fire up some games to see just how immersive it could be. And you know what? I was really impressed. With such a wide ratio, I was expecting most games I fired up to give me some black bars on the side, followed by like a central screen showing the game. And I was up for that. I thought maybe I'll put Discord over here and then have the game on the rest. But I was amazed at just how often I fired up a game and it perfectly filled that ratio. It made for a really, really immersive gaming session. That's not the perfect gaming session. Motion leaves a little bit to be desired, and there isn't those perfect input responses that you'd get from something like an OLED screen. But for an immersive single-player gaming experience, I actually think this is pretty hard to beat, and I'm absolutely going to miss gaming on this. The screen does come with a bit of a curve, and I think that's important when you're working with a screen this size, because otherwise you'd never see the bits on the far edges. But it's not too aggressive. It comes in at 4200R, which is minimal. It doesn't warp too much on the screen, and I think they've got the balance just about right here. So what about personal entertainment? Maybe you've been working hard all day and you finally want to fire up some content to sit back and relax. But it's not the perfect screen for that. There is no HDR support whatsoever, which is a bit of a shame. And of course, without an OLED panel, you're lacking those super vibrant colours and deep, deep blacks. But you can watch content on it, and I did, and I found it pretty good. But there's pros and cons on both sides. You've still got that fantastic contrast ratio. You've got all of those colours showing up on the screen. It actually looks really good. I also think this screen is fantastic for creative workflows, particularly video editing and photo editing. For video editing, it's got that wide range of colour, but with all that screen real estate, you can also get a full 4K preview of your video alongside everything that you're working with. You can have your scopes, you can have your timeline, everything set out exactly as you need. while still being able to see the full quality of your video. That is really enjoyable. And for general work, it's just really enjoyable to use. I was impressed that they went with the 120Hz panel. They were really clear this isn't a gaming screen, and that felt like a gaming feature. But of course, it's not just for gaming, and it makes everything you do feel more fluid and more effective. So after about a month working with this screen, how does it compare to my multi-monitor setup? Well, in most cases, I think that the Dell UltraSharp 52 wins, and it wins by quite a long way. But for you to be able to get the same wins, you do need to make sure your setup is right. It's a big, unwieldy screen, and your desk needs to be big enough to accommodate that. And I don't mean just big enough to fit on, but really you need enough depth that you can pull it back from you and be able to see the content on each side clearly without turning your head. When I first put it in place, I put it the same distance from me that my standard screens would be, and it was just too close. I really had to strain to see what was in the far corners. It wasn't right. Pushing it back further made it much more enjoyable. The screen quality is great, content looks really good on it, but if you're working in a light controlled environment, somewhere that isn't too bright, and that's something you particularly prioritize, then you might be better off focusing on a premium OLED screen, or pairing a premium OLED screen with a cheaper secondary screen for your other content. The Thunderbolt Hub is really well thought out and really well integrated, and it makes your entire desk feel tidier. And lastly, you have to be ready to tinker a little bit to get it set up just right for you. If you try and use it like a traditional monitor, working with one big screen, things will look unusual. The text will be stretched, or it will be too big, or it will look oddly spaced on the screen. You need to ensure that layout is right, and then you'll really enjoy working with it. For me, it's almost equivalent to 3 independent monitors, which really I think is too much for me to put on my desk. I've always stopped around 2. I did for a very short while have 3, and it was just too much. It looked over the top, but this just doesn't. It's a clean, minimal setup for such an incredibly large space. So there you have it. If you enjoyed that or found it useful, then make sure you like the video and subscribe to see more from Digital Trends. I've been Sam, and I'll see you next time.